I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Ohio minasan! Welcome back to our playthrough of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. We're in case 4. Finally. So, 19th February, 9:47 a.m., British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I feel like we were in a palace. And with all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the bureau, I wasn't gonna waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes! It really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owed £3 for the room, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops! Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. God darn it, Naruhodo. Wasting all your money because you just wandered in. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would have put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented the bill. Ugh, I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Ugh! London is a scary place. One would think they would have given you lodging for coming over there. One would think that would have been, like, negotiated. Ah! Good morning to you at this early hour! Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of such an imposing Lord Strongheart. Of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into the British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And, in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been appraised of the events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Remote East Land? Remote? The hell? Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. Now, in a view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust it won't be a problem. Another case, already. Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure. I don't sense satisfaction, do I? No, not from me. It's just that yesterday's trial ended. Unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. Yeah, then he died in a burning freaking carriage in the middle of the Old Bailey. What more were you hoping for? Not to feel like a guilty man got free? The culpability of the defendant has not at present time been established by the court, which makes me feel like you should have given it another day, dear judge. Coincidentally, the jury will not be required to profiteer judgment. Well, Lord Von Zeeks, been a pleasure, so does. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. I don't think that's the problem here, Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo! It's just that I never managed to discern the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I know, it was a very, very shocking thing. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Okay, talk we shall? I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely! Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse inside the charred shell of the carriage of that of Miss McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside while the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back to the courtroom to look at the omnibus. I must be making tracks now. Is it time for the inspection? Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilda talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Yeah, I'm starting to believe that your police and you might be a little corrupt. That's a thought that's going through my head. Hi. Poor Mr. McGilden. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was wow. Mr. Haruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of the Great Britain's long history. It really is a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world! Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? That's why you couldn't just extend the trial a day? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating. I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. I mean, sure, yeah. That's what happened. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Sure. Well, I don't know about that, but I'll take that credit. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I prepared a new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he gonna say before? I want to know about this new case. I need info. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me. It's a murder, and the trial starts in 10 minutes? Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died. As yet. I don't know why the as was in there. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So this trial's tomorrow then. Is everything all right? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... Well, it left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. You were totally cut out for being a lawyer. Don't let that get into your head, Naruhodo. home, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh! If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. How? You said no one had died yet. So how does a most terrible end await someone who apparently has not committed murder? Yes, that's right. Ugh, here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until court sits. Last time he mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. What's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asuki. What the hell do you mean? I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, Kazuma always used to say, you see, we're in trouble. That he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh! Another thing? Continue! On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me that I'd like an answer to. There's something very important I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He, never had the chance to tell me? Kind of a little bit of a mystery here? I suppose he would have done if he hadn't made it. You're on time. Well, thank you for your enlightening discussion. I feel like you probably know more than I do, so what do you think? Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asuki never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning a police inspector in charge of the case. Why? What the effing hell are you doing? I'm not comfortable with that. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. Still reminds me of a certain gentleman that I don't like. There's something very important I have to do? Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. I don't think he looks pleased at anything. What the hell are we talking about? Oh, he's eating fish and chips. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? What's up, me, you young Japanese upstart? I'm giving him the wrong voice. I forget British. This is me, you young Japanese upstart. Some flippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eating out of your hands, you know. But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. I'm just messing this up. There's a crime scene to investigate. But I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers will be saying, huh? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. All because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from the country I ain't even heard of. I can't do it. I keep trying to go British and then it keeps going Brooklyn. Can't do it! Hear that ripping sound? That's the reputation of Scotland Yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue. It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? Da-da-dance! It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London weathers don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? Because she's a woman. And people don't like arguing with women. So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? Dot. He's like, what the hell are you talking about here? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Transit Magazine? That's right! Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. A win? How? I don't remember this. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all of Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he's not! And thanks for that, magazine. My name's known all over London now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that at the start I was a little well flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than a man on the streets. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in these stories. Fame's gone to his head, stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. So, I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. Give me info about the case, please. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement in Briar Row when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital unconscious. That's despicable! What sort of coward would attack a poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. Barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there! You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baroque von Ziggs. No! Sounds like you heard of him then. I mean, I just beat him in court the other day, but no! Oh yes, we're very familiar with Lord von Ziggs. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Well, yeah, can you give me more information on Reaper of the Bailey? Lord Baroque von Ziggs, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When von Ziggs stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty. Is that it? No. ... Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector. We did win yesterday, but it's not the case, is it? But in yesterday's trial against Lord von Ziggs, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Ha! And what of it? Oh, well, I think that means even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGilda came a cropper in that omnibus when he went up in flames. So you can't rightfully say you saved the defendant, can ya? What are you saying? Look, if von Ziggs could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Like magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? I doubt it. No, absolutely not. You don't have a curse. There's no such thing as a curse that, causes people to die when they're in a case with you. No, somebody is faking this curse. Especially because of how yesterday's one went down, where they couldn't even leave him alive for a bit. No, somebody's making this seem like there's a curse, and it's much worse than it appears. Dot dot dot. Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying a few investigations there. I would like to go to the crime scene. I would like to see a crime scene for myself, please and thank you, my dear good man. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already. He good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell he is. He'll give you a chuckle and nothing else. Here's inmate 53. Just speak to the jailer, he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. You can't even just give me a goddarn name. Wow. Dot dot dot. So, there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? Dot dot dot. To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. Dot dot dot. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm gonna make some inquiries. Will you help me? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes! Let's go! Oh, we can go to both. Where to go? I'd say we first talk to our defendant and then we'll go to Briar Road. Need to know my defendant. 19th February, local prison, cell 9. So these are the British prison cells. This is very freaking terrifying. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark in the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding in the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I? Am I a cat, as yet with no name? Calling me by its number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustifiably unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Dot dot dot. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese! Dot dot dot. Excuse me, but shh, quiet. They're all around, hiding! I know they are. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it. Right. So, could I ask you? There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it! You're a ghost. A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner-san, are you? Japanese, by any chance? Da-da-dance. This is beyond my wildest dreams! Forgive me for that outburst earlier. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So heartening the sweet sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damn dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind to tell us what has happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example. Yes, I can, I will! Should say solid and silent! I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Nobly nurtures name Natsume! Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume. San? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No! Don't be prosaic! It's much more refined than that! And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say you were a visiting student sent here by the government? Yes, that's right! A year ago I was told to study English. First I had to suffer that misery. And now this! It's beyond the pale! Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No. I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. What? Just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it? No. What do you mean? If they told me to go study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustably unreasonable. I see.
Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on whitewashy!
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh yes, I'm so often told.
And often like to be told, it seems. I would like to know more of the accusation against you, my dear sir. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder!
Murder?
Oh no! No, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes!
Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear. Seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me?
Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient!
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. Yeah, give me more information, please.
It was an accursed evening just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings.
Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I was to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slabs of stone at my feet.
How terrible.
I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard!
Slight exaggeration there, perhaps.
I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
That's not good.
They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that? I'm defilt, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people!
I see. A young woman, unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you?
Regretfully, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul.
No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Kinda does leave him as my only suspect. What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen.
I did!
But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. And also, how the hell did they find him?
You! What did you just say?
Nothing? I didn't say anything. I thought something. Oops. Perhaps I thought that a little too loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested?
Sorry? Exactly what I was thinking, Susato-san.
He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place?
Oh yeah, she's right. That's a conundrum of where is the effing witness that's apparently the one who led you to my client? It was him! That accursed great detective! He led the police to me! Oh, Shlomes. Great. Of all the bad luck! A cursed great detective. Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live! With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness! Brash, big-headed, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days! Herlock Sholmes! I knew it.
Mr. Sholmes?
Oh, why? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst through the door. They start shouting at me. This is the police! Put the weapon down! Yes, it was a thin silver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgustingly dietary discrimination, devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat! That Herlock Sholmes! It's actually just Herlock Sholmes? He's English? I've since found out he's a famous name in the detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman! Me, this weak, stooped kitten of a man! He is very misguided on some things, I'll give him that. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time.
Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable.
Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in.
Of course you were, that's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign film flamery! Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear.
I'm afraid that's hardly surprising.
I'm fine. He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple mystery is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes, they really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg of you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Ryunosuke. Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Ryunosuke, you say yes to the man. Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on a study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. Which is just a stupid excuse. Shut the hell up, Naruhodo. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm sort of a lock-cum lawyer, I suppose. What? That armband! That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire! It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh? Who do you mean? The lawyers! All the British defense lawyers! They won't defend me! Goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, someone not to be trusted. Although I would still question, why are you being put on trial in Britain if, like, Japan should be calling you back, not allowing the British courts to actually put you on trial? I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my eardrum shot, without any compunction at all. I think you mean compassion? Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong! I've studied more English than half these policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. Ryunosuke, you know what it means to help somebody when they're in dire straits. Defend this man. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. So Seki-san, it's just that... Da-da-da. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you! I'll be here, all alone waiting for you! Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. I need to go see a great detective and find out what the hell he was doing. 19 February, Briar Road. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Look at that regulation metal helmet! It's unmistakable! The men of Scotland Yard are here! They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know! But Mr. Naruhodo, to see it with our own eyes! They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close to a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your hatty dreams come true. again, Inspector. What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gregson.
This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Duh! I am here to investigate the crime scene, so shut the hell up.
Oh, yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
So you've been to the holding cells then? What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. Doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow.
Do we need to converse with you before we investigate? Oh, yes, we have more.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I've read about it in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real police helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense on his duty of protecting the city. Yeah. Oh yes, doesn't it look wonderful?
Being a London bully's a hard going, I can tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. Laborers. Laborers. Not labradors. Laborers. I don't know why I said labradors.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep. Grabs on their windows with a long pole. Did myself going back a bit.
I had no idea.
Always work for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day, and that's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles? That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far.
And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Oh my. And I suppose in between all those duties, bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you could call it the in-between exactly, or alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men kneeling over from time to time, I admit.
Dot dot dot! I'd always dreamed of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. About the case, tell me some info.
It happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on the open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with the blade from behind.
Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned she's being treated in the hospital.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's the odd policy to give lawyers, defendants, suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still, thank you. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept.
The local map has been entered into the court record. Anyways, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming to not have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that no one else was present.
Sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
Saying it went noticed, meaning there's a witness, meaning that somebody else was goddamn there. What?
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less.
So you have two possible goddamn suspects. Thank you for that bit of information.
It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them.
There were witnesses now? I would like to know why these witnesses are also not being questioned on if they're the criminal. Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife. The man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
Okay, so why did it take you a day to figure out who the culprit was? Or why did he not just chase the culprit down on foot? I'm even more confused now on if they were involved in the crime, why they didn't do things. A policeman. That might change things. It doesn't stop the fact that I'm still at utter disbelief of two people having seen what happened and not somehow being somewhat involved. Especially if the fog made it so that they weren't seen, which makes me think that they probably weren't on the street. Did they see it from like a window? In which case they still didn't see the exact man because you had to go get Sherlock Holmes to go find your freaking culprit. So I don't know what the hell you mean by you have witnesses that can testify if you had to get Sholmes to find your freaking culprit. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing particular about that, ma'am. Part of the parcel of being a bobby. Catching him big in the act and all that.
Except he wasn't being a bobby, he was with his wife, so no. Try again, loser! Do you think it might be possible for us to ask the policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow?
Oh,
I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
that's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. One. The person who led you to the suspect. I heard it was Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Well, I'm gonna ask about tomorrow's trial really quickly, and then I'll ask about Sherlock.
That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you gonna defend him or not?
Well, the answer is yes, I will defend him.
It makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt will touch that case with a barge pole.
Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean?
There's no way to save that man now. Waste time trying.
Which I think is a very stupid thought that any lawyer should be ashamed of if they have going through their brain.
It is a little bit strange, though.
Sorry?
A Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
The only people he usually bothers with are real scum. Master criminals, the violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper would want to sink his teeth into. Want a better phrase?
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, thought there'd be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of the Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really gonna have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it.
Alright, talk to me about Herlock. Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle! Ah! The man's an amateur! I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh! I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime. Wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish. Before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He's a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble!
Ah!
Ever seen this before?
Oh, yes, that's the Rancid magazine. It's a wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appear.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us.
I mean, I'm probably gonna make a mockery of all of you tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm that much of a help in your misadventures of being bad investigators.
If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Herlock Sholmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all of our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly the great detective and the police have a, complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're gonna get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. You're talking about Herlock, aren't you? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can ya? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in this case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we don't know where we're going. We have no idea of the man's address even.
It's Baker Street. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street. It's the most famous address in the world. I have actually been there. It is wonderful. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose.
We'd better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. So we're to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. A new location has been added. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock! Not what I meant to do.
Thank you very much.
It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
February, 12:53 p.m., Sholmes Suite. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Bleh, I'm sorry. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Thumping. Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak in the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? Hello, it's a big new case for Mr. Sholmes. Hello? I remember you, wait. Aren't you? Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of where? The King William Goldstrick Sigmund von Ormiston, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Holmes for a moment and look over there. The tea's brewed. I'll have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you. I knew it. Susato-san recognized her too. Ah, there you are. I'm taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilden's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh, yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. It's tea supposed to look that color? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner. I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. I'm sorry that I'm fumbling over words. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. How are you deducing all this, my dear lady? Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes, do you, surely? Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl on the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me! I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she flustered all of a sudden? Why are you not flustered, goddammit, Naruhodo? Wilson, the first goddamn victim that we were accused of killing? Yes, that's right. And where are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely! Susie and Bruno. Got it. Susie? And Bruno. There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it, at the Old Bailey? Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Oh, what the hell? Ah, thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, the awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Janie? Yes, she's my professional pickpocket. A professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referencing that trial disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly! So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism on my inventions.
This girl is dangerous. Very, very dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Jenny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly.
Hurley.
Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together.
I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what's your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates.
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at this last year.
Well, what are your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Wilson!
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm very great fan of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of the Rancid magazine? Yes, I've read every issue. I've delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories.
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see. And he tells me all about them. They're really quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one to ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night he was telling me about the new case he just solved on a steamship traveling to a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you on in a secret if you like. I'm gonna call this latest issue the Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. You definitely know a little bit of this story.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know that the snake might not be credible for its facts in this case exactly, but... It's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say... all the stories about Mr. Sholmes are published in Rancid magazine? All written by me, yes! On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read... all written by a doctor of medicine, a John H. Wilson.
Sato-san's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes. That's me. I mean, that's my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I'm a doctor of medicine.
No, not at 10 years old.
At 10 years old?
Well, that's quite incredible.
But Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. enter the...
Oh my god. Sorry about that, guys. For some reason, it thought that there was no signal, and I had to reset everything. I did alter the settings slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? Dot dot dot. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san, she looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Your deductions just now, please answer me. About before. Yes, what's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we'd just arrived in London, I mean? Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present a logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, I knew you already were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observe a passport and a travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh! So I was reasonably confident that you had only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. I mean, okay, I'll give you some benefit there. At the same time, I won that case, so again, shut up. The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to visit with the suspect, weren't you, earlier today? Ah! They stamped your hand? They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you'd only just yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had a case of a visiting foreign inmate at the local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could you have heard about that trial as tomorrow? Well, having barely been home for a few hours yesterday, Pearlie solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man. But clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now, Bruno has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? No, it is not. Or at least I don't think so. I can't see the bottom. Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you'd both come from Japan yourselves. If it is a kimono, I don't know why she's wearing a kimono out here. And also, what is that red sleeve underneath? Her under is either a light blue or a white. I'm confused now. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. You are 100% correct, Iris.
There's a note on the mailpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions.
Yeah, she's not wearing a kimono. I'm still confused on why the inner of her sleeve is red, but she's not wearing a kimono. The top is like a kimono. Dot dot dot.
Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, it's still probably commonly a kimono because it's still like the kimono sleeves. But, like, she's wearing a hakama, so it's not like a traditional kimono. And it wouldn't be called a kimono. I think it's a hakamashita is the type of, like, top that's being used when you have a hakama. I'm confused. I'm also, like, just still now looking at that red sleeve, and I'm going, how the hell is that sleeve red? Why is that sleeve red? What's going on there? Because it should be white. She's very clearly wearing a white undergarment. And if it wasn't white, it would have to be like that light blue, but neither of those colors are on her sleeve, so I'm confused there. But that's neither here nor there. We should continue with our story. I shouldn't get into Japanese culture and facts. It goes into irritation if I look into things. And then I think I know something and then I say the wrong thing. But obviously I do know she's wearing a hakama. That is what her pants are.
Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. That's really good news. You can tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
Yes, please tell me what Hurley told you. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were wanting him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man run away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man.
Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. So Seki-san said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all.
Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. There was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective who can fumble around a bit. You have to remember that.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime.
Oh?
Scotland Yard is doing its best, but it can't stay on top of it, apparently.
Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire.
That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. Blah, 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 blah.
That's terrible!
I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been a very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome.
I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guess, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. I'd like to clear up whatever the fuck he bungled.
Oh, well. I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene.
The case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there.
Iris, do you know where those lodgings are?
Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Oh, goody. In that case, give Greggy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems.
Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know."
I trust that won't be a problem. Gosh, this'll make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try.
Good luck, then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back soon.
We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. And that is the end of this episode. Wow, and we're not even done investigating, and it's already been an hour and almost 40 minutes. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for watching this series as you have been. Thank you for the support. Once again, I like knowing that so many of you are watching this series and following me as I play the Great Ace Attorney. I'm hoping to get as much of it finished as I can. Unfortunately, I do go back to work on Monday, and we'll see what I can get done due to going back to a work schedule, but I will do my best to continue working as much as I can. Thank you all so much for joining me. I will catch you all on the flip side. Bye, everybody.